Good morning, I'm Ben Goujon with Quad City Arts, and welcome back to Talking Arts, supported by Quad City Bank and Trust. Today, for the second year in a row, to kind of wrap our year, I am extremely excited to be talking with local veteran arts journalist, author, and pianist, Jonathan Turner. Jonathan, welcome to Talking Art.
Ben, thanks for having me back. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I always love having you on. I unofficially refer to you as the Quad City's unrelenting champion of the arts.
I appreciate
because
it.
you are such a great supporter of the arts in general and so many organizations through all your various things that you do.
I try to be, and there's definitely a lot worth championing.
Yeah. So I mean, let's dive right in. What were your favorite things that you saw this past year?
Well, there were a lot to look back on, and it was a very busy year for me personally and for the art scene overall. I think as far as a highlight that a lot of people might have that is a permanent fixture on the scene in the Quad Cities, just visually and as a landmark at the Figge Art Museum. People probably know they debuted the what's called Evanescent Field. The lighting of the entire exterior of the museum happened in mid-May. They had a glow-up event. That was kind of a public party when we had warm weather that day. It was really beautiful night. People gathered on the plaza. They had a number of speakers. They had the artist, Leo Villarreal, there, and he's done these amazing light installations around the world. And we were lucky to have him in the Quad Cities, and it was a major project along on the plans for the Figge this past year. The Figge actually celebrated their 100th anniversary as an art museum, founded in 1925, and they were celebrating 20 years at the new building downtown Davenport. So that was a $4 million project that they got significant funding from the state of Iowa, Destination Iowa, and they had to raise, I think, over $2 million on their own just to have that, the countdown, to see the dark building, and then to have your first impression. Just very exciting build up to see the actual lighting, to see it. And then what's neat about the whole project is that the lighting at night, it's a constantly changing the way he did the LED lighting system. I can't remember how many lights altogether are built into it, but it constantly, subtly changes colors, changes patterns throughout the night. I think it's lit now through, they say they don't keep it up all night through the next morning, but it every night at dusk through about 4 a.m. the lights are up, and that just makes it was already a landmark in downtown Davenport, but just to have that was really neat, and just to have that as part of our community.
Yeah, that was my number one too.
Really?
And it's been so cool for me, to see it when it happened. But like as we've gotten into the winter months and that glow up happens earlier, like
I know, right?
I've got kids, so I'm not out at night a whole lot. But like now it's happening at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and you just see that kind of beacon over there right on the river.
And I don't work in downtown Rock Island anymore, but I imagine one of my favorite views, of course, downtown Davenport is from Schwiebert Park in Rock Island. Just to see it lit up from so many different angles, and they've posted drone footage where you see the overhead view of the glow through from above, and it just really makes a statement. And I think it's a big credit to the Quad Cities that an artist of Villarreal's stature. He did the Bay Bridge in San Francisco. He's done buildings in Chicago, and he just there. I just read in the New York Times there's a huge new skyscraper, New York City, that I think J.P. Morgan Chase built, that he did this amazing installation that's on the top of that skyscraper in New York, and just to have his imprint in the Quad Cities, and to have him express his appreciation of working with the Figge, and to have that as a permanent kind of attraction. Hopefully that'll obviously help the Visitors Bureau, hopes it helps gather more interest and visitors to the area. So among my theater highlights, I had personally I had a busy year playing for shows. I usually have played for musicals maybe once every year or two,
Yeah.
or in 2023 was unusual. I played for two Music Guild shows that were months apart, the spring and a fall show. So in 2025, I actually got to play for four shows within a span of February through June, I think it was. And I had the pleasure of playing at the Music Guild Spring Show, which was Escape to Margaritaville, and I think I had talked about last year, looking forward to.
Yeah.
And it was all that and more, because it was such an amazing cast, a great cast that we had. Luke Vermeer was director, and Stephen Scott was music director, and it was literally a party on stage, because I don't know if you know the show, but it's set in an island resort.
Yeah.
And everybody had their Hawaiian shirts and blaze around their necks, and
All things Jimmy.
the band was on stage. We were in the corner, in the back on stage. Jimmy Buffett songs are just tremendously fun and
Yeah.
thrill to play, and we had a great rock band on stage. We did that through, I think, mid-April. It was the first 2 weekends of April. I got to play for a kind of the opposite type show. Instead of a big cast, it was a two-person play at Playcrafters in Moline, and that was a special project for me because it was a review of Stephen Sondheim songs, and it's called "Marry Me a Little," and it's not just a stand and sing show. It was originally staged in '81, and it was a collection of mainly unproduced songs. So these are songs that Sondheim had cut for some reason from his original productions, and because it's Sondheim, of course, all those songs were still brilliant and amazing, beautiful songs, and so I can't understand why they were cut originally from their productions. But we had Sidney Crumbleholm and Thane Lamb played the boy and girl. It's just a two-person show, set in a part. It was set. Jake Ladd directed, and it's set in a New York apartment. Two neighbors, a boy and a girl who live just a floor apart from each other. They're technically not interacting during the show, but they each have solos, and there's some duets, and there's some kind of fantasy sequences where they're imagining that they're interacting together. So there's no dialogue to it, but it was just really, a special production, and Jake directed it amazingly. And the part about that where I was the music director for that show, so I worked to teach the songs over a 2 week period, but the actual performances conflicted with the next show that I was scheduled to do, which is Fun Home at the Black Box Theater, which was
that on my list.
opened in early May. So what was weird about Playcrafters was we couldn't find another piano player to actually play the performances. So Jake convinced me to record the whole accompaniment. So that was kind of the last day of rehearsals. That was kind of a pressure for me. It was kind of a pressure situation where Jake was sitting there. We were in Playcrafters, and Gio, who's the sound designer, we had my keyboard, and we just recorded the whole accompaniment without the singers there, and had to get the tempo. Jake was really meticulous about the tempos for each song, and so actually when we finished, luckily I recorded within about 3 hours, I think, that day, and it was 22 songs altogether.
Wow.
But I came back and saw it with the recorded accompaniment, and it worked out pretty flawlessly. And
That's awesome.
Thane and Sydney are tremendous singers, and they did a great job. And I got to, I know you mentioned last year you were looking forward to Fun Home, which is a Tony-winning musical Black Box did at the local premiere. Laura Adams is great for doing a lot of shows at Black Box that no other theaters have done, and a lot of Quad City premieres. And that told the story of Alison Bechdel, and it was very creative. It won the Tony for Best Musical and Best Score, and that's Alison Bechdel is a famous cartoonist and famously lesbian cartoonist. She did a long-running strip called Dykes to Watch Out For, and she has a connection. I have a personal connection with her, even though I don't know her personally. We both attended the same college, liberal arts school, Oberlin.
Oh, cool.
And there's a reference that Oberlin is very kind of instrumental in the story of Fun Home, and the story kind of takes place where it's a memory play where she looks back on her life growing up with her dad. There's a girl who plays Allison, I think like at 10 years old. And there's a medium Allison who's starting college. She's 19 at Oberlin. And there's the adult Allison who is played by Sydney Dexter Richardson. And Sydney, another Sydney, was amazing in that part.
Yeah, she knocked that out of the park.
And hopefully you saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Fun
was
Home
one of
with
my...
Tristan. Yeah, Tristan played the father, and I had not been familiar with that score, and I knew the title, and I knew it's based on a famous graphic memoir she wrote, and Janine Tesori is the composer, and I'm a composer off and on over the years, but I really look up to her because she's one of those just chameleon type composers. She had done, I played for her Thoroughly Modern Millie, is a classic, 1920s jazz age style musical that Sutton Foster became famous for. And PV had done that a number of years ago, and that's got a great score. But she's done so many different type musicals, and I think she's been nominated for 6 Tony Awards for Best Score, and she's won twice, including for Fun Home. But that music was really, really great to play. I mean, that's another show that I really, even though we ran 3 weekends, I really didn't want to stop. I wish we could have run that continuously. That went through mid-June, and I also ended up playing for a high school production. Davenport West did The Wizard of Oz in early May, and that Wizard of Oz is such a classic too. So that was fun to play for. And the Saturday, this was the first weekend of May, I actually got into a car accident that Saturday. It was only one weekend of shows, so I played the Friday night. We were doing errands, totaled my car on Saturday. I had to go to the hospital, so I obviously had to miss the Saturday night show. But since it was only one weekend, I wanted to see it through. So my wife drove me to play for the Sunday matinee, and people were surprised that I was back to play.
Oh my gosh! What did they do Saturday night?
For the Saturday night, I think they got the accompanist from Davenport North.
Okay.
To fill in.
To jump
in.
And
people know Wizard of Oz, but that score, the actual score, has a lot of incidental music that's really difficult. That's really, atonal in a way, and a lot of challenging parts it's not just the straight over the rainbow and If I Only Had a Brain, classic songs, but that gave me a new appreciation for the Wizard of Oz score.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you got in a car accident, but I love that you mentioned that, because one of my kind of highlights of this year was our oldest is in 7th grade now. And so we've been going to lots of the junior high and high school band and choir concerts because she's involved in both. And I have just been, saying the Davenport North accompanist came over and just jumped in and played that score. And that's the thing that I have seen so much this year is the talent of our high school educators and our high school and junior high students in the arts. I hadn't been around that scene before, and it has been just so impressive. Some of the concerts we've seen, and she's kind of on that path leading into marching band and seeing some of the marching bands. I haven't seen a marching band thing in 30 years.
Right.
And marching band's a whole different ballgame now. And Rocky and Davenport Central's marching bands are just phenomenal. It's a show.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's one of the drawbacks of the way I've written about the arts over the years. There's so much obviously going on community theater wise, and just due to the nature of every town has a school, high school, and all the school programs. There's so much that I don't even touch being able to see. Most college and high school, and even younger than that. So like you said, the extent of the school programs is pretty outstanding.
Yeah, and just so appreciative for those educators,
Right,
who put in those hours outside of their normal,
for sure,
their normal hours to work with the
Right.
kids and, come in early because we want to do jazz band and we don't have time in the schedule, so we're all going to come in at 7 a.m. and do jazz band. It's amazing. So
especially
hats off, educators.
Not as a morning person, I can't imagine. When you talk about people subbing in, one of the things that I put on my list that is is one of the favorite things that I wanted to mention. I don't know if you saw Spotlight did Young Frankenstein a few months ago.
Yeah.
And Young Frankenstein is just so much fun. That musical, Mel Brooks musical, based on the classic movie. And this happened in two kind of close together productions where one of the lead roles had to be substituted relatively. Spotlight was much more a last minute, where the woman who was going to play, now I'm forgetting the name of the role, but one of the lead female roles in Young Frankenstein had health issues, and she had to drop out like 2 days before the opening night. And Sarah Wegner, who's done a lot at Spotlight and does a lot backstage with mainly hair and makeup and costumes, and she went on to play that part. You know, no like book in hand or no.
Yeah.
I mean, like she was born to play it. Like she was perfect in the part, and the at Black Box, the last Black Box show in November was The Lion in Winter, and Laura Adams was going to be directing it. She was directing, and she had, you know, obviously another actress was playing Eleanor of Aquitaine, the main female role in that play, and that actress had to drop out. But I think that was more about 5 or 6 weeks before the opening.
Sure.
And Laura just decided she was going to play that
Jump
part
in.
since she really loved the play, and I'd never seen the movie. I'd heard of it before. It's a classic movie with Peter O'Toole and Katharine Hepburn, and that also was like she was meant to play that part. I mean, she really jumped into it, and she got Noah Hill to direct it.
Yeah.
And so I mean that takes special talent to be able to jump into a part like that.
Well, it's the old adage of the show must go on, but like those have been some of my most memorable experiences as an actor when I've had those, when I've gotten that call at the 11th hour of, hey, can you jump in? And there's something about the energy of that where, you know, and I think it applies whether if you're an understudy too, like when you've got to jump in, like everyone in the cast is kind of focused on supporting you.
Right.
And because they know that you're still like figuring
And aren't
things
there
out.
certain roles? I know there's like understudies and swing roles, and maybe you know this better than I. Isn't like a swing, you have to be a backup for multiple roles?
Typically,
And
yeah.
how, I mean, maybe that they're more ensemble type parts?
Yeah, a lot of times with a swing, like especially kind of in that big musical kind of Broadway world, like the swings will cover multiple roles, and usually they're a member of the ensemble, but they're understudying multiple tracks. And whenever anyone is out, you know, if the lead goes out and the lead's understudy in, the swing is prepped to move into that role. So they're kind of the understudies for the understudies, and they're just the most flexible sort of actors because they just jump in everywhere,
And how do
wherever they're
you-
need.
Yeah, how do you prepare to play multiple roles like
Yeah.
that? You
Yeah,
have to like know
it
everybody's
is
part.
a talent.
Wow. A couple on my list of favorite things in the past year, a couple were visual art related. I mean, as somebody from Quad City Arts, you appreciate too, since Ben led coordinating the Metro Arts program. I don't know how many years you've done that, but
Going into my 5th year.
I did I freelanced occasionally for the River Cities Reader, and one of my features over the summer was on the 25th anniversary of Metro Arts, and then, you know, I mainly talked to the group of kids and Heidi Sallows working on the Buckrup chiropractic mural in
Yeah, in
downtown
Milan.
Milan, and then I attended the actual program you had at the Figgy. I think I wrote something after the reader story for quadcities.com, but just seeing the impact, I mean, seeing the groups come up and talk about each project, and I think the Milan mural this year was the biggest one they've ever done for Metro Arts.
Yeah.
I mean, every year I'm always really impressed by the students and the projects they do. I mean, not just the public art, the murals, but across the different media, across whether it's improv comedy or filmmaking or poetry, and just the exposure and the employment opportunities you give to students, and the way they have to work within 5 weeks, is it altogether?
5-week program.
The
Yeah.
5 week program, and just yeah, I mean, just to produce, I think, I mean, the public murals are the most impressive because they're just something you see out in the community that are permanent kind of fixtures of our community now. But just those kind of learning experiences, I remember, I was in high school and I played for musicals, but I never really did any summer programs like that. Just to have an organization that coordinates that and lets you work with these professional artists, and it's just mind blowing, impact, and it was very inspiring.
Yeah, it's a great program. I always tell those kids, I'm like, don't tell my other programming, but this is my favorite one.
Right.
Because it's, you see the impact it has on the students, the impact they're making on the community with the public art they're creating. And with this year being the 25th, it was like, let's celebrate that. So, we did extra work to celebrate that. And one of the things, you mentioned the murals always kind of being the most obvious programs of all the programs, but that's something that we're really trying hard to work on at Quad City Arts is to, yes, it's the murals and they're very visible, obviously, but showcasing the other programs. So one of the things that I was most excited about last year, and I'm very excited about for the coming year, is we had the documentary filmmaking group this year, and you got to see kind of the preview of their documentary, but we were able to work with WQPT, and it's going to be broadcast on QPT 10 times in January.
Wow,
so their work is going to get out into the world, and
Nice.
people are going to be able to see, because they did such a fantastic job, creating this documentary called Art is Work, celebrating 25 years of Metro Arts. And, talked with the founders of Metro Arts and people who have participated through the years. And it's such a cool program. And so I was just thrilled to be able to highlight that and all the people that have put in so much work into it and all those students.
And I was really impressed by, I think Claire Ferris was one of the
Yes.
artists who spoke at the
Yeah,
program.
she's an alum. Yeah.
And I think is she doing her program at the Art Institute of Chicago?
Yes.
I think. And she's a young artist that she had really moving things to say during her talk. And I had met her a couple times before. And one of my highlights from this past year was a project that she worked on with Heidi Sallows at the patio space next to Half Nelson, downtown Davenport, which is called Cafe San Lorenzo. And that was one of my favorite stories that I worked on, because I've known Heidi for years off and on. And she, years back, she sang at Bucktown Review that I got to play for her. And
I didn't know Heidi
it's been
sang.
I know, it's been forever. I tried to get her to come back and sing with me, but she's been so busy with her art. And but if you've seen, obviously we can't see it now because it's in the off season, but the Half Nelson opened this Italian outdoor cafe. They're right between Last Picture House and Half Nelson on 2nd Street there, and the owner, Matthew Osborne, he wanted to literally just create kind of a virtual Italian cafe, and instead of repaving and creating cobblestone or brick pavers along the ground, he asked Heidi to paint the facsimile. That's another mind-boggling thing of just the detail, the attention to detail. And I think she worked about at least 3 months on it. Claire was one of her assistants. And so just the amount of space that has to cover, and just the final product of what she did, and the way they set up their tables, and they have, the kind of little Italian flags and lights that were above. And that's just another permanent kind of aspect to the Quad Cities now. That's just to be an artist and to show people that's obviously artist work that you worked on, and it just enhances that space so much, and they're able to have this really beautiful Italian cafe, and they have their own menu, and unfortunately, when I had did that story when my wife was out of town on either a trip or a business thing, and I got to I did originally a story for the Visit Quad Cities blog, and it was funny because when they like shared it on their Facebook page, that was like the most engagement that I've never ever seen on something I've written. Because like I share a story and it gets 5 or 10 likes or comments or whatever, and then Visit Quad Cities shared it on their page, and it got like 1,800 likes and like 250 comments.
That's awesome.
And just like all the comments were, we have to check this out. So and so, like they tagged their friend. We got to go. This is a great date night. And
Yeah.
and then Betsy and my wife, I wanted to take her there. Show it this. I think this was like the Big 7 weekend, and they had that downtown block party. I think downtown on 2nd Street that the day of the Bix race, and we like walked down there and like it was not open for some reason. And then of course like as soon as like the end of August or as soon as summer ends, they're only open during the summer,
Right.
And so that's kind of the downside of not being able to take advantage of it. And I think it's only open maybe Wednesday through Saturday, too. But it's this summer. Make sure you check out San Lorenzo.
Yeah. Well, it's thousands of little hand painted tiles.
Right.
It's the attention
the
to
amount of
detail
time that
and
took and
yeah.
the talent and it's incredible.
Yeah. Well, speaking of kind of downtown Davenport, one of my other highlights for the year was like alternating currents is always a highlight because it's such a great, fun weekend. But this year we worked with the city or DDP and alternating currents to do Mural Fest.
More murals, right?
Yeah,
I
where we
know.
brought in 5 muralists from all over the world to create 5 new murals, and there's one in Bettendorf, 2 in Rock Island, and 2 in downtown Davenport.
Right.
And like some of these muralists were just like world-class cream of the crop muralists, and they just all blew me away.
I know.
And if you've not been over to Rock Island yet to see, oh gosh, I'm totally blanking on his name. His real name was Lorenzo, but I don't remember his muralist name.
Oh, really?
But the one on the back of Skellington Manor
right.
is just incredible, and you can always tell when a muralist is, when someone's work is speaking to people, when like all the muralists did great jobs. All the other muralists outside of Lorenzo were talking about Lorenzo's mural because every one of them said to me like, yeah, this has been great, but like Lorenzo's mural,
Right.
it's just so beautiful, and it's such a great, you're driving into downtown Rock Island from the west side, and it's
Right.
bam, right there, and enormous. So that was great to me, seeing all these different muralists interacting with our community and adding their art to the community.
And he must have had to be on the lift for the whole time because it's
Yeah.
on like the second level
Yeah.
of the building.
Yeah, I think the top of it's at 50 feet. Like we did the measurements, and it's like 40 feet wide by 30 feet.
Right.
Like it's a big piece. It's up there, so the visibility is outstanding. Mm-hmm. So that was one of my highlights, getting to work with them. And
Oh, for sure. Another museum-related highlight. I've done multiple stories now. People are tired of me writing about the new burlesque museum Daniel Colby opened in downtown Davenport.
I haven't got to see it yet.
You learn something new because the name of the museum is difficult to. Called Ecdysiast Arts Museum. Ecdysiast is the name. It's a term, I think, based on a Greek term that I think H.L. Mencken originally coined. It just means someone who removes their clothes, a stripper.
Got it.
And so she wanted to name it that to kind of class the place up a little bit, but so she couldn't get away with calling it a stripping history museum. So, it just runs the gamut. I mean, she's a real history buff, and she's a real expert on the art form of burlesque and the performers and the diversity of the performers and just when it's at 322 Brady Street, it's right off Brady and Third. As you're going up north, it's on the left side of the street on Brady, and it's just definitely worth a visit because just the amount of costumes, just the amount of history and what you can learn. She's using as a performance space for burlesque shows. She has burlesque classes, and she's just, she's not only a performer, but she's really just tremendously knowledgeable and passionate about the art form. And I did my last feature also for the Reader was this past month. So if you want to check out the Reader, I think it was for the December issue. And I talked to some of the main performers who've been part of it, and the burlesque kind of scene in the Quad Cities has been very active, and they're very passionate performers. And it's what I like about it is it's just such a welcoming, diverse, and like they always say, like every body is a burlesque body, and they're just you don't have to like conform to the thin certain standards of beauty of what fashion or what Hollywood says is beautiful, and they just welcome anyone who wants to get up to perform, and it's just a way of taking on a new persona, a new personality. You get to be in control of your presentation, of your performance, and everyone in the audience, all the other performers welcome you and support you, and it's just such a great environment.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I need to get over there.
But right, and they're doing one thing to look forward to if you want to do. I know they're doing a New Year's Eve bash where they're having they're having a lot of guest performers New Year's Eve, and then they're having their after party reception at the museum. If you don't have New Year's Eve plans,
That's awesome. Well, so what else are you looking forward to next year?
So being such a musical fan, I always look at the new seasons for the theaters in the area, and Music Guild has another great season lined up. They're doing a show that I've played for, which is a classic that a number of people have done over the years, which is Cabaret. That Luke again is going to be directing. That's the spring show, and I'm looking forward to the next show that I'm going to actually be playing for is their June show, which is going to be 1776. And that they wanted to time, obviously, for the 250th anniversary of the country in 2026. And they're going to do that in June. It's kind of close to my heart because I got to be in a production of it my senior year of college.
Oh,
where
fun.
we did 1776.
Who would you play?
My commencement weekend, just Bartlett from New Hampshire.
Oh,
so I
yeah.
a small role, but I like Bartlett because I don't know if you're a West Wing fan, but Martin Sheen, who played the president in the West
Right.
Wing, great TV series, they named him after the New Hampshire Hosea Bartlett.
Oh, I didn't realize
was
that.
the president's name.
Yeah.
And he was just an obscure the New Hampshire representative, and I think I had 3 lines, and he doesn't have any solo songs or anything, but.
But that show is so fun. I also did it in college down in Western Illinois and played John Hancock.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, I like history. I like that period about the founding of the country, and I've been watching the Ken Burns,
Right.
the new Ken Burns series. But it's like the music is fun and it's eclectic, which was very kind of different for when it was written. Like there's just lots of different styles they bring in,
Yeah,
and like it's just a fun musical. I had pitched Brett Tubbs like 3 years ago. I was like, you need to, for this season. I was like, you need to get the rights. I was like, because people are going to want to get the rights for the 250th.
I know, right.
And I saw Music Guild got it, and I was like, oh, they beat them to it.
But one thing Spotlight's doing, which I don't know why Music Guild didn't jump on, they're finally bringing back the Secret Garden, which is the show that got canceled by COVID. I was supposed to play for in 2020. So their Secret Garden is going to be their spring show, I think, at Spotlight. And when I saw that they were going to do it, I contacted Amy Trimble, who does a lot of music directing. Yeah. And Amy does a lot of Spotlight. And so I immediately said, do you have somebody to play for Secret Garden? And so, of course, Marsha Renaud is gonna play for that, because apparently when Sarah Tubbs had asked Amy to music direct, Marsha was sitting right next to her at the time. So she immediately got connected with
That's
that.
awesome.
But that's, I mean, Secret Garden is such a beautiful show, and I'm glad Spotlight's going to do it. And I can't remember I think that's April, but they're also doing one of my favorite all-time musicals, West Side Story, at Spotlight in June. And of course, this is going to be another thing where the West Side Story at Spotlight completely overlaps the same weekends of 1776. So I won't be able to see it. I think that happened with Margaritaville and Titanic when Spotlight did Titanic
Sure.
this past year. And I mean, Countryside is doing two great shows of the classic Guys and Dolls and more current, more contemporary Mean Girls, which is
Fun.
is a popular show, not one of my favorites, but I know a lot of people are probably going to look forward to that. And Music Guild is also doing the SpongeBob musical, which Spotlight had done, which is really fun. So that's going to be great to be able to see. And they're also bringing back the Putnam County Spelling Bee, which is another great show, which was kind of unusual for a summer show at Music Guild since it's a smaller cast.
Yeah.
You know? Sorry. And
Well, it's
but-
such a great, like, when William Finn passed away this year, like, he's long been one of my favorite composers. So I always love when someone is putting on his work.
One thing I still need to get with ask Laura Adams. I don't think Laura's announced what her shows for Black Box
She has not.
are going to be, but two shows that I always thought Black Box should do. One is Falsettos,
Yeah.
which is a great William Finn,
Yeah.
the kind of compendium of March of the Falsettos and Falsetto Land, which I
It's
saw
one
years
of my
ago in
favorite
Connecticut.
all-time shows.
And I wanted, because I graduated from college in like '86, and I really wanted to do March of Falsettos in college.
Yeah.
Which we never did. But I also would love to see Merrily We Roll Along here, and that just had a great Broadway revival.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things, not locally, but I'm such a huge Sondheim fan, so I had to see Merrily We Roll Along, the movie version. They did the film.
Right.
You know, a la Hamilton. They had the same company that filmed Hamilton, filmed the Merrily with the Broadway cast of Jonathan Groff, Lindsay Mendez, and Daniel Radcliffe. So I don't know if
Yeah.
you got to see the movie.
Is that on
but-
Disney Plus?
So it was originally in the theaters.
Yeah.
It was in the theaters for like 5 days or 5 or 6, just less than a
Yeah.
week. So we saw it the first weekend of December. And I'm not sure where it's streaming. Hamilton was on Disney Plus, so I'm not sure. Hopefully it'll be streaming.
Yeah.
But that's another, I don't know how they did it. They did it during a live performance. Plus, I think they edited some, like they did with Hamilton. They filmed it in an empty theater where they did, you can't tell the difference. I mean,
No.
it's seamless the way it's edited. But I was really impressed with the way the director did such like close-ups. And I mean, it's literally like a movie where you really get the emotion of the characters.
Yeah. They have filming of plays has come so far.
It's obviously not just the cameras set up in the back with the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
stage.
And
it's great.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep my eye on for that because I would love to see that because I heard so much about that production.
But I think, and it's got such great music, and the Black Box I think would be a perfect venue for it, and that's obviously not been. I don't think it's been done here, even though that's a 44-year-old show now.
Right.
The two other things that I'm looking forward to at the Adler, or things that are kind of related to my Bucktown book, I noticed in the spring, in April, there are going to be two Wickedest City in America related events. The Ballet Quad Cities is doing a Wickedest City in America ballet at Galvin Fine Arts Center in April. And I think Emily Kate Long is choreographing that. And I was kind of, a little offended that neither place asked me for advice, since I literally wrote the book on Bucktown. But Danielle and the Burlesque Museum, they're doing a Wickedest City Burlesque Festival.
Oh,
that's going to
fun.
be at the Adler, I think, in mid-April. And I noticed the Adler, for their 2026 lineup, one of my favorite artists, musical artist, Alison Krauss and Union Station are coming to the Adler. And I've never seen her live, but I've just been such a big fan of hers over the years.
She's incredible. Well, and they've got a great comedy lineup this year too.
I know. They're bringing Jerry Seinfeld back in January.
Kevin James,
Right,
Daniel
Daniel
Tosh,
Tosh,
Charlie
right.
Berens. Like I was looking at
They've got
all
a lot
the
of good comedy shows,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, what else are you looking forward to?
well the other thing that I'm really excited about. There's going to be an exhibit at the Figgy that actually starts I think next week on December 20th, where people are going to hear this January 1st, but for us right now, it's next week. And they are doing a photography exhibit from all their archives of photography over the years called A Surreal Lens. And I love photography, so I'm really excited about that exhibit. Also, I'm a sucker for Fiddler. And I did not see Fiddler until I was an adult, and I saw the latest.
Do you see Music Guild?
I did not see it at Music Guild. The first time I had seen it was the latest revival on Broadway with Danny Burstein. And you know, for me, that's one of those musicals, kind of like Oklahoma, where you're, as someone who hadn't seen it, I was like, oh, it's just this stodgy old classic. And then I went and saw that Broadway production because I had a friend who was in it, and I was like, this is amazing. This is just, it's such an incredible story. The music's so beautiful. The dancing's beautiful.
Yeah, I forgot Circa's doing that.
Yeah.
Is that May or June?
I did not knock down the dates on it, but yes, they are doing
I think
Fiddler.
it's spring at Circa, and
Yeah.
I mean Fiddler is it's a timeless story, even though it's tied to a specific era when, you know, this family is forced to leave and they're leaving their tiny village, and there's all the, you know, the anti-Jewish sentiment coming up, and I mean it's that, you know, that's kind of always unfortunately timely, but it's also so relatable just to any parent, any
Yeah.
father or mother who sees their children rebel or want to strike out on their own, and just the push and pull about what a parent wants versus what the child wants. You know, the families that are kind of breaking free of their tradition, you know, the tradition, which is such a big opening number in Fiddler, and how they strike out on their own and carve their own identities. And we've had that in my own family with our own kids. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it grows old at all that way.
Do you know the musical Children of Eden?
No, sure. Right.
Yeah. One of my favorite songs in that is and I don't know the exact title, but it's them talking about their kids leaving, and the hardest part of love is the letting go.
Right.
Like in terms of getting all sappy
Right,
here.
I know.
But like, you know, there's so much in Fiddler about that, and just that kids grow up and turn into adults, and that's part of that cycle of life that we all deal with.
Yeah. And I mean, Fiddler's always been special to me because my mom's parents, you know, it was my grandpa's favorite show, and I would play, you know, If I Were a Rich Man, that he would sing, and that the actual show, you know, came out just around the time I was born. I think it was like the first original cast album I ever had.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we've laid out lots of great things that are coming up this year. I think the question that I always like to discuss with you is like, why should people support the arts? How can they support the arts? You know, obviously arts are a huge part of our community, and we're living in a time where arts funding has been slashed for a lot of places in the last year. And beyond that, like that's a tradition as much as Fiddler.
Right.
Let's cut the arts funding.
It's extra disappointing to. It's always the National Endowment for the Arts and for the Humanities, and those federal funding cuts have always been threatened over the years, and Republicans have always raised that as, you know, the arts being some liberal conspiracy, and that there's. And unfortunately, you know, the federal funding cuts came true this past year, and our public media here at WVIK and WQPT have been dealing with how to make up the difference with the loss of their funding. And I've been able to luckily been able to freelance with WVIK the past few months, and they actually got really significant support from their listeners, and they got private fundraising and be able to get funding from individuals and businesses, and they saw fortunately, a lot of support from people and increases in fundraising that way. And I mean, the arts are just so important to reflect kind of, it's a way of making sense of the world, and not only, producing great works of art and musicals and theater and art, visual art and literature. And it's just a means of expression for all the talent that we have in the community. Because there's just, we've been talking about the theater scene, just our local theaters. There's so many theaters, so many performing arts groups, the symphony, the ballet, the art museum, the burlesque troops, everyone that is so passionate about being able to find their preferred means of expression, and just the amount of talent and the training that goes into it, and the bravery and the courage it takes to put yourself out there and get on stage, and to be able to, reveal, whether it's from your own personal experience, or whether you're, playing this writer in, pre-Nazi Germany that's trying to find love at the Kit Kat Club. But they're just to be able to interpret these great works of art, and just the amount of talent we have here is worth supporting.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with Benjamin Fox from Rostox 6 weeks ago or something, and there was a quote and something I wanted to share with him that I couldn't forget, and made for a really awful podcasting moment where I was like, oh, what is this? But it's the quote from, and this I'm sure is being pulled from somewhere else, but in the film Dead Poet Society, like Robin Williams is talking to all the young men and saying, like, mathematics, science, like, these are all noble pursuits, but poetry, arts, like, these are the things that make life worth living for. There's so much that arts gives to us in terms of, whether you're participating actively as a creator or on the audience side of things. And like, arts brings so many things to us that, are, and I think that's part of what happens with funding, because it's immeasurable. Like, you can't measure, like, the empathy gained or the insights gained or the different perspectives you gain by looking at a painting you've never seen, or telling and watching a story about someone else's life that you've never seen. You can't measure that stuff, but that's what makes us human. And it speaks to who we are as people. And so I'm always so grateful for your support for the arts as a participant and as an observer and writer, and someone who's just out there championing it.
And thank you very much. And I just think, arts are important to, like you said, to increase empathy and understanding. And one of my stories I did this maybe a few weeks ago, Hola America had won some prestigious national Hispanic Media Awards. And I was talking with Tara, who's the founder and publisher, and it's just incomprehensible to me the amount of anti-immigrant and discriminatory language our federal government has been perpetrating these past year, and people who are just calling Mexicans and immigrants criminals, and refugees and Somali people garbage, and how you can just paint a whole population with a broad brush of misunderstanding and misinformation. And what the arts does is give you a window into different people's lives, and stories they humanize every person or every different kind of population. And ignorance and discrimination, prejudice and racism are born from ignorance. If you don't understand about somebody's background, you're creating an other, where you're creating somebody that's not worth learning about or not worth appreciating, and you don't understand them, so you just say they're criminals or they're monsters or they're here to attack us. And I just think the arts are so valuable in revealing humanity. That Fiddler does too. Like everybody's a can become a parent, or everybody, regardless of their background, can have love and understanding and has children to support. And you need to be able to appreciate everyone's background, and what we have, what we share in common is so much. We have so much more in common than we have that what divides us. And
Yeah.
we have to celebrate that, and just doing that through music and the arts and storytelling. And that's just a way to get to know your neighbor and get to know all these wonderful kind of colors of the rainbow.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah. Well, where can people find your writing? I know you're doing lots of freelance stuff, but
Right.
where are you
Sure,
at right
sure.
now?
I'm primarily been a freelancer now the past few months by mainly WVIK.org, QuadCities.com. The River Cities Reader is just RCReader.com. Occasionally I've been doing some blogs occasionally for VisitQuadCities.com. And luckily they asked me back to do kind of an arts overview for their 2026 destination guide, which kind of also gives you a little sneak preview of what's coming up for the coming year. But those are the main areas.
Awesome. Well, thank you again
for
so much
having
for
me.
being here. Thanks again to Quad City Bank and Trust for their support, and to our producer, Josh. Thank you, Josh. For more information on arts advocacy, you can visit quadcityarts.com. I'm Ben Goujon, and this was Talking Art.